Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a scenario that I think is going to feel frustratingly familiar to a lot of you. You know those weeks where you feel like you're doing everything right. You're sleeping, you're eating your greens, washing your hands constantly, and yet you just feel run down. You catch every single cold going around the office, or maybe it's that lingering inflammation or a cut that just won't heal. And all the while, there's that one person we all know who seems, bulletproof.
Right. We all know that person, the office superhero who never takes a sick day.
Exactly. And we usually just chalk it up to good genes or maybe just luck. But looking at the research you've brought today, it suggests their immune system might not be luckier. It might just be better equipped. You're arguing that we might be missing a specific tool, one that nature's been using for millions of years to keep its busiest cities safe.
That is the core of it, yes.
Yeah.
We're looking at a compound that serves as the ultimate shield for the beehive. And no, before you guess, we're not talking about honey. And we're not talking about pollen either.
So if it's not the honey, what are we looking at?
We are looking at the architecture, the glue that holds the whole operation together. Literally, we're talking about propolis.
Propolis. To help us unpack what is really a biotechnological marvel, I'm joined by a true expert in the field. He's a chartered biologist of the UK Royal Society of Biology and a senior lecturer at Kun Hussein on University of Malaysia. Welcome.
It's a real pleasure to be here.
So you've brought us this comprehensive review paper on stingless bee propolis. Now, stingless bee caught my eye immediately, but before we get there, what's the big promise here? What's the deal with this sticky resin?
The promise is that we're looking at a substance that doesn't just kill bacteria,
Right.
even the ones our best drugs can't touch, but it actually trains your immune system. You have to understand, a beehive is warm, it's crowded, and it's full of sugar. In theory, it should be a paradise for bacteria and viruses.
A disease factory.
It should be.
Right. It's basically a humid buffet for germs.
Exactly. But it's not. It's actually one of the most sterile environments in all of nature.
Yeah.
And the reason isn't because bees have tiny little scrub brushes, it's because of propolis.
Okay, let's get into the specifics then. Most people hear propolis and, maybe they think of throat lozenges or something from a health food store, but what is it physically? Is it just bee saliva?
Oh, it's much more sophisticated than that. The word itself gives us a clue. It comes from the Greek, pro meaning before or in defense of, and polis meaning city. So propolis literally translates to defense of the city.
It's the city walls.
It is the wall, the mortar, and the gatekeeper all in one. Physically, it's a mixture. The bees fly out and collect these plant-derived materials, resins from tree buds, sap flows, and they mix it with their own enzymatic secretions and beeswax. The recipe, if you look at the chemical makeup, is roughly 50% resin, 30% wax, 10% essential oils, 5% pollen. And that last 5% is a powerhouse mix of organic compounds, vitamins B, C, E, and minerals.
So it's a construction material, but it's chemically active. It's not just, inert cement.
Far from inert, it is a pharmacy. And here's where it gets really fascinating, especially with the paper we're looking at today. We're focusing on stingless bees.
I have to admit, I didn't even realize stingless bees were a distinct category. I just assumed all bees could sting.
That's a very common misconception. Stingless bees are found in tropical climates, Malaysia, Brazil, parts of Africa. Now, I want you to think about the evolutionary pressure here. A standard honeybee has a potent, venomous stinger to defend its colony.
A physical weapon, right?
Exactly. But a stingless bee does not. They evolved without that weapon. So how do they survive predators, parasites, and all these microbial invaders?
If they can't stab them, they must have to. Poison them?
In a way, yes. They rely entirely on chemical warfare. They use propolis to seal every pore, every hole, every crack in the hive. They essentially coat their city in antimicrobial glue. If an intruder, let's say a beetle, gets in and dies, and the bees are too small to carry it out, that's a huge risk.
It would be a biological hazard right in the middle of their home.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So what they do is they mummify it. They coat the entire carcass in propolis to prevent it from decomposing and spreading disease.
That is both terrifying and brilliant.
It's incredibly effective. And actually, humans figured this out a long time ago. The ancient Egyptians used propolis for that exact purpose, for embalming.
No way.
And the Greeks and Romans used it for wound healing. So while the science is modern, the application is thousands of years old.
Yeah. I want to pause on that source aspect. The paper focuses on stingless bees in specific regions. I think when most of us buy supplements, we just look for the word propolis on the bottle. Does it really matter where it came from?
It matters immensely. Think of it like wine. A Cabernet from France tastes completely different than one from California.
Because of the soil, the sun.
The terroir, exactly. With propolis, it's what I call the chemistry of geography.
The chemistry of geography.
Yes. Remember, the bees are gathering ingredients from the plants nearby. It's like a local cuisine. If the bees are in Brazil, they're harvesting resin from a specific plant that produces massive amounts of a compound called artapilin C.
And what does that do for us?
It's a heavy hitter for anti-inflammatory power. So Brazilian green propolis is famous for that. But if you go to Malaysia, where the stingless bees are harvesting from acacia trees and tropical hardwoods, you get a totally different chemical profile.
And what's the Malaysian specialty?
Incredibly rich in flavonoids and terpenes. These are exceptional antioxidants and have very strong antimicrobial properties.
Yeah.
Then you have European propolis from poplar trees, which is rich in a different compound called pinosembrin.
So if I'm listening to this and I have a specific health goal, I actually need to check the passport of my propolis.
You do. You're buying a different tool depending on the country of origin. The geography dictates the chemistry.
That's a crucial distinction. Okay, let's pivot to something everyone dreads. Infection. One of the biggest threats we face right now is antibiotic resistance. Bacteria are getting smarter. How is this sticky tree resin getting past their defenses when our strongest drugs are failing?
That is the billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
The problem with our antibiotics is they usually have one specific lock and key mechanism. Once the bacteria changes, the lock mutates, the drug fails. Propolis is different because it's not one molecule, it's a cocktail.
It's not just one key, it's a whole key ring.
It's more like a battering ram. The primary mechanism is physical disruption. Think of a bacterium like a water balloon. It has a membrane keeping everything inside.
Okay, a water balloon.
Propolis compounds, especially those flavonoids, they literally puncture that skin.
So it pops the balloon.
It pops the balloon. But it also cuts the phone line, so to speak. It disrupts the bacteria's ability to divide and multiply. So you have a two-pronged attack.
Yeah.
Physical destruction and reproductive halting. It's very hard for bacteria to evolve a defense against that.
And does this work on the nasty stuff, the things we worry about in hospitals?
It does. The review cites effectiveness against bacteria like Staphylococcus, aureus staph infections, and even stubborn fungi like Candida albicans, which causes yeast infections. But here's the most exciting part for modern medicine: synergy.
Synergy, so things working better together. You mean using this with antibiotics?
Exactly. There are studies showing that when you combine propolis with standard antibiotics like ampicillin, it enhances their effectiveness. You actually need a lower dose of the antibiotic to kill the bacteria.
That's incredible. In a world where we're running out of effective antibiotics, having a natural booster like that, it seems like a game changer.
It is. It's not just about replacing modern medicine, it's about rescuing it.
It's just so fascinating because it blurs that line between biology and medicine.
And we are barely scratching the surface. The complexity here is a massive field of study. We know it works, but mapping every single interaction is a huge task.
And I imagine that's where the work at your university comes in.
Precisely. We need more data, and we need more minds on this. That is actually why I'm so keen to bring new researchers into this field.
So this is a genuine invitation. If someone listening is thinking, I want to be part of this, they can actually work with you.
They can. We are actively inviting listeners interested in this deep science to pursue master or PhD research under my supervision. We're focusing on these herb-based medicinal alternatives to minimize the impacts of disease.
And do they need to move to Malaysia to do this?
Not necessarily. We offer flexibility. The data collection and analysis can often be conducted in your own home country or at your local research institution.
That is a fantastic opportunity. If you've ever wanted to turn your curiosity into a credential, this is your chance. We will have more details on how to connect at the very end.
I look forward to hearing from some curious minds out there.
And now, back to the Hive. We've talked about killing invaders, but the title of this deep dive mentions our immune system missing this compound. Does propolis just do the killing for us, or does it actually help us fight?
That's the crucial distinction. If it just killed bacteria, it would be an antiseptic. But propolis is an immunomodulator. It trains your immune system.
Modulator suggests balance, like a volume knob.
Exactly like a volume knob. You don't always want the volume at 10. That's uncontrolled inflammation.
Yeah.
You want clarity. The review highlights studies in mice where propolis increased the ratio of CD4 plus to CD8 plus T cells.
Okay, break that down for us. What are those cells doing?
Think of T cells as the generals of your immune army. By optimizing that ratio, propolis effectively puts the army on high alert without sending them into a full-blown panic. It tells your body, be ready. This is also why it's being researched as a vaccine adjuvant, something that helps vaccines work better.
But what about when the army does panic? I'm talking about inflammation. We know that uncontrolled inflammation is at the root of so many chronic diseases. Does propolis help when the body is attacking itself?
This is where its sophistication really shines. It doesn't just turn the immune system on, it can turn specific pathways off. The paper discusses how propolis blocks something called the NF-kappa B pathway.
That sounds like a secret code.
Think of it as the master switch for inflammation in your body. When that switch is flipped, your body pumps out these pro-inflammatory signals. Propolis inhibits that switch. It helps keep it in the off position.
So it calms the storm.
It calms the storm. And that's why we see real-world benefits for conditions like arthritis, respiratory tract inflammations, and skin ulcers. It stops the body from overreacting.
Speaking of ulcers, let's talk about healing. One of the most difficult things to treat is the diabetic foot ulcer, a terrible condition where wounds just won't close.
It's a massive problem. High blood sugar damages blood vessels and nerves, making healing incredibly slow. The review highlights that propolis promotes something called granulation.
Granulation.
That's the formation of new connective tissue and tiny blood vessels on a wound. It's basically the body knitting itself back together. Propolis increases the structural sugars needed for that repair.
So it's like a biological cement to close the wound.
Yes. But here's the twist. It doesn't just treat the external wound. The research suggests propolis might help treat the diabetes itself.
This was the part that really surprised me. We're saying this bee glue can help lower blood sugar. How?
The mechanism is quite clever. Propolis inhibits enzymes in your gut called alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase.
And in plain English, what are those doing?
They're like the scissors that cut up carbohydrates into sugar. If you inhibit the scissors, the carbs don't get turned into sugar as quickly. It prevents that massive sugar spike after a meal. It acts very similarly to some prescription diabetes medications.
So it's attacking the problem from two angles, healing the external wound and helping regulate the internal sugar.
Precisely, a dual action defense.
We have to touch on cancer. The review has a significant section on this, but I know we always have to be careful here.
We must be very cautious, yes. The studies mentioned are primarily in vitro, in a test tube, or in animal models. We're not saying propolis cures cancer in humans. However, the mechanism we're seeing in the lab is very promising.
What's it doing to the cancer cells in that petri dish?
It's cytotoxic, which means it's toxic to them. But here is the key. It seems to be selectively toxic. It induces apoptosis, that's programmed cell death in tumor cells, like breast, colon, and melanoma cells. But it tends to protect the normal, healthy cells.
It attacks the bad guys, but shields the good guys.
Yeah.
And that shielding is related to oxidative stress, right? The biological rust we get as we age.
Exactly. Biological rust is a great way to put it. That rust comes from free radicals. Propolis acts as a scavenger. It just sweeps them up. There was one study where participants taking propolis drops saw a 67% decrease in markers of cell damage.
That's a massive reduction. So let's just zoom out for a second. We have a substance that acts as a shield against resistant bacteria, calms inflammation, speeds up healing, balances blood sugar, and scrubs our cells of biological rust.
And it does all of this by simply repurposing the defense mechanisms that plants and bees have evolved over millions and millions of years.
It really makes you think. We spend so much time and energy trying to sanitize our environment with harsh chemicals, and yet the bees create one of the most sterile cities in nature, using complex biology, not just bleach that kills everything in sight.
It raises an important question. Maybe we should be looking at how nature creates safety through complexity and balance, rather than just by killing everything.
I think the bees are definitely onto something. And maybe that office superhero who never gets sick isn't just lucky. Maybe they're just biologically balanced.
I would definitely bet on the balance.
I have a question for you listening right now. Have you ever used bee products for healing? And knowing what you know now about the resin, the geography, the chemistry, would you trust a bee glue capsule over a synthetic supplement? I would love to know your thoughts.
It's definitely something to consider next time you're standing in that pharmacy aisle.
Before we sign off, I just want to remind you about that research opportunity. We've talked about how much is left to discover. If this deep dive sparked a desire in you to contribute to this field, to study herb-based biotechnology, please connect with our guest.
Yes, we are always looking for passionate master and PhD candidates. Together, we can help minimize the impact of disease using what nature has already provided.
Utmost gratitude to technologist Dr. Rami Usmana for the enlightenment and his invaluable insights. It has been a true pleasure unpacking this with you.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you.
For those of you who want the details, please check the summary link in the YouTube video description. Until next time, stay curious.